debate, because I explained to them that, of all the shows we ran on X and on different platforms, your show is one I definitely remember, based on the very interesting insights you shared, how well you were able to articulate your points, and the fact that you were very clear in terms of your position. So I have to commend you for that, and hopefully the audience will get a chance to get some more of those insights and get a feel for exactly who you are, exactly what you represent, and what your plan is in terms of how you see the economic recovery for Nigeria. So before we begin, perhaps we can just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to those that may not be familiar with who you are or not familiar with exactly what the candidacy represents. After which we will then begin to engage on the topic of the day.
Okay, thank you very much, and I thank you for your patience, and I do apologize sincerely for the late commencement because of technical glitches. My name is Adewole Adebayo. I am a member of the Social Democratic Party. I'm a lawyer. I am a Nigerian, and I joined the SDP in 1991. I was then 19 years old, and 4 years ago I ran as the presidential candidate of the party, and I'm now the 2027 presidential candidate of the party again. And the summary of what we are doing in the SDP and why I joined the SDP, if you ask further questions, I will give you more details, but in brief is that the state of development of Nigeria leaves us no other option than to have social investments, because majority of our people are poor, uneducated, kept away from infrastructure. So if you live in Nigeria, you are automatically 400 years behind civilization. Even if you bring Donald Trump, there are some parts of Nigeria you will take him to, despite the fact that 20 hours ago he was the US president living in the White House. If you bring him to some part of Nigeria, he's automatically a poor person, because all the modern amenities that he feels entitled to and his 80-something years of life is taken for granted, he will immediately discover that, oh, these things have not even been invented in this part of the country. So for that reason, we are left with no room for debate that the kind of government we will have now at this current stage of our development must be composed of leaders and operatives who know the social deficit that we have. The majority of our people are in poverty, and that poverty is inescapable. You cannot pump money into that poverty. You have to give people education. You have to give them health care. You have to restructure the society in which they live in such a way that they can have access to infrastructure and they can learn enough to use the infrastructure. And overall, they will become productive. They will produce things that the world needs, and they will make contribution to human civilization, through which they will earn income, they will earn respect, and society all over the world will accept them as contributors to human civilization. And that you cannot do any of these things quickly without the agency of government. So you can produce industries and produce 10,000 billionaires. You will still not solve these problems, because you are better off making sure that every child has basic education, has access to water, clean water, has access to safety and security, has access to information and technology, and that they live in a society that has rule of law, where nobody is afraid that if he goes anywhere, he's going to be kidnapped for ransom or just killed for nothing. And that if he has disagreements, controversies, disputes in the society, they will be resolved not by violence, not by force, but by a functioning judicial and legal system and that the law enforcement in Nigeria is a symbol of civilization and law and order. It's not a brute force used to suppress the people, and that the resources of the country will be accessible to Nigerians, and that the only thing that will make a difference is the amount of talent, the amount of grit and hard work that you can put into making yourself what you want to be in life. That's basically that. So that's why I'm in politics. All the other things that you can achieve personally, I've achieved them. But I don't have a society and I don't have a country. So it doesn't matter how much money I've got in my bank account. It doesn't matter how many assets I have home and abroad. It doesn't matter my personal, professional accomplishment. Once I know that I cannot issue a passport to myself, I have to collect a passport for the government of Nigeria. And that passport equalizes Dangote with the person who is in jail in Malaysia. The same citizenship. The same citizenship with what I have, the same citizenship that those people who are in under the captivity of Boko Haram now, those children who are in the bushes of Ogumosho and all those places, and all of these things shows to you that no matter how much money you got, no matter what your position, you cannot be bigger than your society. So the best thing to do is to realize that it is better to be an ordinary man in a big country than to be a big man in an ordinary country. That's the summary of it.
Thank you, Mr. Adewole. So look, I just quickly introduced my fellow co-moderators before we begin. I'm joined today by my co-moderator Roland Dapper, and also Baron will be assisting today with the conversation. Prince Adebayo, the topic that we're discussing today centers around what the alternatives are for economic recovery. I think to begin, I want to talk to you about the subsidy removal and get your thoughts around that. And specifically, we know that it essentially was a necessary evil, and I think there's an expectation that the economic climate would be better than it currently is. But given the reality of that decision, what are your thoughts on sort of how it was managed, and the current sort of policy around what's happening with the new position Nigeria finds itself in terms of borrowing, and how that borrowing is now being reconfigured?
Okay, thank you. First, we are stuck in an old argument. This is the same thing I was being asked 4 years ago when we were competing with candidates Tinubu, Obi, Atiku Abubakar, and a host of others. And they were talking about this subsidy issue as if it's like a big thing. And I was explaining to people, it's like a family that earns 2 million naira a month, and they're discussing the cost of having a haircut, whether the family member should have a haircut once a week, or they should have the haircut once a month, or they should not have any haircut at all. Relative to the amount of money available, this haircut debate doesn't save you any money. And I made it very clear at that time that it wasn't the subsidy that was sinking the budget. And at that time, I made it clear that, for example, the highest that was ever paid at that time for subsidy, which was majority of fraud, but the highest that was ever paid was about 1.3, 1.4 trillion. That same government, Buhari's government at that time, that was teasing out the burden of subsidy, itself spent 33.7 trillion on unaccounted, unbudgeted, and infeasible things, unfathomable things. And it wasn't until the end of the administration of Buhari in 2023 that National Assembly went to approve retroactively the 33.7 trillion. And up to today, nobody can account for that money. Now, so I knew that subsidy was not your problem. It's a small area you can deal with, but the way to deal with it is to make fuel available domestically. And all you needed to make fuel available domestically was to get the refineries to work. And we have, apart from the private refineries, which are not public properties, we have 4 refineries that are owned by the public. And if you get them to work, the petroleum economics of it will eliminate the idea of subsidy in the first place. So, because it will be a self-contained production system in which what was meant to be the surplus of refinery will be used as equalization that we had before. But anywhere you went in the media, they will be shoving this question into your throat like it was the talisman that will fix the economy. It's not. I tell you that the problem with the economy is that we are pretending to have a government when we don't have. And up to now, if you proceed on the assumption that there is a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu who is running a government and that you only have policy disagreements, you are not ever going to come out of the black hole. Because what they have done is to use elections, as imperfect as they are, to earn access to the resources of the country and to take every step, governmentally and non-governmentally, legally and illegally, constitutionally and unconstitutionally, to steal you blind. So there is no government to talk of in the sense of what our constitution expects a government to be. Therefore, your budget is a lie. Go to the budget item by item. The budget is not realistic. It is not a budget that is meant to do anything in government. It is a document used to authorize the central bank to release money contrary to what is written in the budget. So non-existent organizations can have trillions in the budget.
Prince Adebayo, can you be specific about these claims you're making? So when you say the budget is not a budget, the CB, just CB, I mean, there's money going to the states that the president can't do anything about. So can you be specific about what you're actually asserting here?
Thank you. Let's start with what the president can do something about. Section 162 of the Constitution, I don't want to sound too technical. Section 162 of the Constitution says that every money that accrues to the Federation will go into the Federation account. So whether somebody took a piece of mineral from Nasarawa State, you took coal from Enugu, you did bitumen anywhere, whatever you take from Nigerian soil, it goes to the, through account, it goes to the Federation account. If the NNPC sells crude oil, it goes there. If British Airways, German Airways, and whatever flies over Nigeria and they pay for flight money, it goes there. If you pay for your JAM result or whatever, you pay money to anything to government, it goes there. Your taxes from Inland Revenue or whatever goes there. So once that money is there, then the representative of the people will now appropriate the money through the House of Representatives and the Senate. And that money will be debated and put in the budget. What I'm letting you know is that, one, a lot of the money that's supposed to go to the Federation account don't go there. So the people who are in charge of this money are not behaving like a government. They are behaving like any other looter. If you were invaded by Russia or China or USA or anybody, or like the Belgians invaded Congo, picking minerals, stealing things and taking away, that's exactly how the people who are in authority are doing now. They don't behave like a government. That is to say, a government is a caretaker that collects all the rent and everything and accounts for it, and then seeks your permission on how to spend it. So in that essence, you don't have a government. You have people who have used election and appointment to occupy government offices and they don't behave in the manner in which our constitution says a government will behave. It is like if an armed robber or a trickster enters a bank and they start to take money from default and take it away. They're not practicing banking. They are perpetrating robbery. So if we understand that that is why all our money is going, we will first want to address that very seriously. That is number one thing I'm saying. Then, at the national level, when they write budgets, go and see the report of the government by itself. Since 2015, even before them, let's start with 2015 when APC came to government, they have not executed one budget successfully. And the most annoying part or perplexing part is that President Tinubu has done 3 budgets. He did not implement any of them. In fact, now he has areas of budgets which he has consolidated into the current budget and is not following them. So, if this is too arcane for people to understand, I need to find another language to put it, that you cannot expect government delivery from people who are not a government, who just happen to be people who love money, who want money, and have now taken over your government, and they are now pillaging your resources in front of you. And if you pick items through the budget and ask them to tell you, this item, where is the money? Where is the product? Where is the project? They cannot point to you. That even in the fight over the looting and sharing formula, they have even discovered, and they are saying with their own mouth, that they've appropriated money to legally non-existent organizations within the government or so-called government. That's why I'm letting you know.
Your point is clearer now, and I completely understand where you're coming from. And I would say that that assertion is perhaps correct in terms of what's currently going on. So then the question I then pose a question to you. I mean, how would you address that? Assuming that you were successful and you became president, what would your approach be, and what measures would you take?
The first approach is to form a government that conforms with the oath of office. When you get home, get your old tapes and check the last 5 presidents, or even as far back as Shagari. Every president goes to take the oath of office, oath of allegiance, and in that oath, they will say, I will implement Chapter 2 of the Constitution, fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. But they don't. So for us, the difference is that I will go and implement that. When you implement that solves 90% of your wastage, misinvestment, and errors. Why? It's like this. If you set up a dormitory and you ask the people in the dormitory to take 1 million naira and feed the people in the dormitory, they may be good people. They may go to the dormitory, use your 1 million naira and feed the kids in the dormitory. On the other hand, if you give them 1 million naira and give them a menu and say on Monday you give them rice and beans, in the afternoon you give them this, in the evening you give them this, you write the menu, you write the balanced diet, the time they must give them the food, the quality of the food, the timing of the food, the amount of the food, and you give them like that. Now, and you calculate everything, the budget comes to 1 million naira. If you give them the 1 million naira, because you are giving them a menu and a schedule and a time to follow, and that menu and everything is clear to everybody, the likelihood that they will divert the money is less, because it is now clear what they must do with the money and how many people they must feed, what time, and all of that. That is what is in Chapter 2 of the Constitution. It tells the government what they must do with people's money. It tells them what the budget must contain. It gives the government the target of what it must achieve. So nobody needs to tell you that in less than 4 years, you should be able to tackle illiteracy. Because after all, in Cuba, they set a target for 1 year and they met it in 1 year. So you can, which means that you have to spend money on education. You have to deal with healthcare, making healthcare accessible. So since you have that mandate in the Constitution to make healthcare affordable, you can't divert the money into coastal roads.
But how do you deal with the state governors, right? Because
No. State government, let us understand something. It is not the business of the federal government to control states in areas where states have their own sovereignty. There are 3 spheres of business in our constitution. We call them legislative lists. You have the exclusive, which only the federal government can deal with. Then you have the concurrent, which the federal government and the state and anybody can deal with. Then you have the residual, which is only the state and local government can deal with. Now, in the areas where we are suffering deprivation, underdevelopment, and all of that, majority of these areas are both in the exclusive, which only the federal government can deal with, and concurrent. For example, monetary policy, whether we are going to devalue our currency to the point where our people are in poverty, whether we are going to subsidize certain productive sector of the economy and multipliers and cost drivers, all those things are within the exclusive jurisdiction of the federal government. Whether we are going to deal with Boko Haram and deal with insecurity and kidnapping, federal government can deal with all of that. Whether we are going to maintain the federation account, that's all federal government, because exclusively you have control of that. Then in areas like of social services, education, healthcare, all of that, the federal government has concurrent powers. And where the federal government and the state share concurrent power, this federal government is superior to the state in those concurrent areas. So if the federal government, for example, says that we must have a primary health care maintained to this standard, federal medical centers in each local government, for example, the state can't refuse you. If the federal government says federal housing with mortgage, all of that, that's only the federal government can control that. So I don't want us to tell the federal government, which has not done its own assignment, to go and tell the state how to do their own. The only influence you can make on the state is that the state will match the federal. Once the federal sets a good standard, manages its own money well, budgets well, and ensures that it uses the central bank to control the monetary spending of the state, because I, for example, will let the governors know, if you want to borrow money on top of the money of your budget, you will pay higher than an industry. So a state governor will not just go and borrow money and waste it, because if you want to set up a factory, you want to set up any business as a private person, the central bank can say they should loan the money to you at 15%. But if you are a state governor, you want to borrow money, you pay at 35% or 40%. The state governors will not borrow anymore. They will now use their own money. And the money of state government, the control of the money, they are all in banks that are federally controlled and federally regulated. So there are many ways for a president to make state governors behave without asking them to join your party.
Okay, so you're suggesting that you'll pull some levers that essentially mean that ultimately the federal controls the narrative and controls the landscape, across.
The federal set the tone. If I want productivity, I don't want wastage. I don't need to telephone the governor and start telling him. Once we have National Economic Council meeting, I will set clear agenda and I will seek partnership with the state. I will give them minimum requirements. Look, if you are able to fix the roads in your state, this is what we are going to give to you as a counterpart funding. Kano State, you need to reduce illiteracy to 0% in 2 years. If you do that, the cost of doing that will give you 60% of it after you have achieved that target. You set targets for them. That way, when you set those targets, they work towards the target. But if the target you are setting for them is political target, deliver your state to me, bring all your lawmakers from your state to come and join me, the governor will respond accordingly. So the problem you have in the state is caused by the desire of the states to belong to the federal government and the excessive politicization of governance by the federal government under President Tinubu. Therefore, I would come as a governance president, not a political president. In which case, I set the standard and the National Development Plan, which all of us agreed to, those are the metrics. So those are the things you see us working towards bit by bit. And you will see that I lead by example. For example, if I set to myself a target that my budget will be 98% implemented. Right now, President Tinubu has never reached 15%. Sometimes they go close to 70% in budget performance. So if you have a student who scores 70% in an exam, that student is not going to go anywhere. So if, as a federal government, I do my budget, it's very neat. Everybody sees the budget clearly, complies with Chapter 2 of the Constitution, and I implement it up to 98%. I will tell any governor, don't come to me except you have matched at least 75% performance of your budget. If not, I'm not going to listen to you, and we are going to sanction you monetarily. So it is impossible for a governor to steal money in Nigeria because all the instruments that can prevent a governor from stealing money, Central Bank, EFCC, SCUMO, police, ICPC, they're all under federal government. So it is somehow not fair when people who want to defend the failure of the federal government start to point to divert you and distract you by pointing to one state. Look at this state, look at that state. But there are some states that are doing well, they can do better. But if you look at Enugu State has performed far better than federal government. They are able to revive their airline. Federal government could not run Nigeria Airways. Adi Sirika spent 8 years, say he's going to do Nigeria Airways, Nigeria Air Nigeria, whatever. It was a fraudulent thing. He's facing trial now. Enugu State, within 2 years, has been able to put 2 or 3 years, put together Enugu Air. I even take my time to take that airline from time to time to test because I am now very comfortable that Ibom Air is a standard airline, well run professionally. So I stopped taking Ibom now because I'm confident about them. I'm taking Enugu Air, try to test how they are going to do, and they're doing very well. So many of the states are beginning to turn a new leaf, or let me say some of the states, they are doing major things you can measure, not just propaganda, not basic things like making roads and all of that. They're trying to create wealth. I went all the way to Enugu to go and see the new free trade zone they're trying to create around Suka and all of that, interrogated them, talked to them. So it is possible. But you will not see President Tinubu do any of that. He's not interested in that. He's interested in come and join my party. Maybe that's his own priority, fine. But it's left for the Nigerian people to ask themselves, okay, in all of these areas of challenges we are facing, is it based on policy differences or is it a fundamental problem that the people who we say are in government are actually not in government, but they are in office and they don't do any governance in the office? What they do is divide and kill, point and kill. So, okay, money in this sector, I put you there. And if you look at the quality of manpower that are being put, majority of appointees have similar names from similar parts of the country, and they have similar association. If you catch the person, how did you get a position? Oh, I am from so place, and we are supporter of the president. It's never about merit. It's never about I was headhunted for my.
President Adebayo, I think that's clear. So I want to now do like a rapid fire because there's a number of points we want to cover with you, and I'm doing this because I want people listening to be able to then distinguish between someone that has actually done their homework and is able to articulate exactly why they're saying what they're saying versus perhaps some of the other some of your peers. So we've covered subsidy. Let's now look at some of the other policy areas. Exchange rate. Okay, would you maintain the current policy or would you intervene more aggressively to support the naira?
Okay, the naira doesn't need to be supported. Naira doesn't need to be anything. Exchange rate is like a temperature. If somebody goes to if you have malaria or typhoid or whatever, and you go to the hospital, and the doctor is always coming every 5 minutes to test your temperature without giving you any treatment, that doctor doesn't know medicine. Once you reduce the viral load or the parasite load in the blood, the temperature will come down, because the temperature that is rising because the body is trying to fight the disease. If you eliminate the disease, you will not have a problem of temperature. What is happening in our foreign exchange are three things. If you deal with them, you won't. Nobody will remember. Go to many countries. If you ask the citizen, what is the exchange rate of your country's currency, they don't know, because it is in the background. It's not something that you talk about every day. Three things. One is that they are stealing Nigerian blind. A country that earns on average about 360 billion in a year does not put in its budget more than 40 billion. The rest is stolen. You see people, even if you don't know about what's going on in the oil sector and all of that, leave that. Go around to your communities, you will see Asian-looking people collaborating with local people, and they are digging minerals and taking them away. And nobody's recording anything. But a lot of areas.
So you would leave, because I'm trying to compare your approach to what's currently happening. So you would not intervene at all. I mean, there was a need for intervention. I think
what is currently happening is not foreign exchange management. It is the disguise of theft. Okay. Until they brought Emefiele, because he fell on the wrong side of the politics. Until they brought Emefiele to trial. Emefiele was telling you that he was managing foreign exchange and fighting with Aboki FX. And they're not doing foreign exchange. Don't deceive yourself. This is an ongoing large-scale robbery of the country. So don't deceive yourself about the foreign exchange they are doing. When it's time, bring their own technical person to come and have a discussion with me narrowly on.
Fine. So you don't believe that Cardoso is the right man for the job?
No, Cardoso is the right man for them, because they know what they want to do, and elections have consequences. They know what they want to do. They need somebody who is going to. What Cardoso is doing for them is very simple. Cardoso is helping them to maintain what Buhari could not do. Buhari could not maintain stability, that is to say, the same rate throughout the year. And what Cardoso wants to do for them is not to grow the economy or to do anything. Cardoso wants to help them to maintain an appearance of stability, so that the naira is about 1.3, 1,300 to 1,420 range throughout the year. So no employment generated, no industry are not growing, nothing. But they maintain that. How do they maintain that? They recycle the money. So they borrow money, recycle the money into the foreign reserve, use the foreign reserve to defend the naira, and then they circle like that. But
Prince Adebayo, what I mean, the naira needed to be stabilized. So I'm trying to.
You cannot stabilize the naira without stabilizing the economy. What I'm letting you understand, I don't want you to ask me a question and that requires some 3-step analysis, and I do one analysis and people get lost. Let us get it clear. The foreign exchange of your country is because you are exchanging goods and services that you produce in your country with the one you are importing, and you have what we call balance of trade. So your foreign currency interaction is for you to do your balance of payment, so that because for things you imported cars, you have to pay for those cars, and you exported crude, you have to pay you. So what your currency is doing is to reflect the differential in between what you have to pay outside and what you pay inside. That foreign exchange is not supposed to determine whether a child goes to school or you can feed your family. No, that's a different matter. The other component of it is that the inflation rate in your country cannot be divorced from the exchange rate, because if you have a high inflation rate and you have a favorable exchange rate, what you are doing in economics is that you are exporting your inflation to the country that is giving you their own low inflation currency. That is why ECOWAS could not achieve the ECO, because the inflation rate in the different countries don't have convergence. So what I'm going to do to solve the problem is that I will have a low inflation economy, which is I will make sure three things happen simultaneously. Economics is like driving a car. You have to start the ignition, engage the transmission, the gear, and you have to hold the steering. If you don't do the and put your leg on the pedal, if you can't do all of this at the same time, you can't drive, because you can't start with the ignition and then leave everything. The car will not move. So what you need to do is that, one, you need to make sure that inflation comes to single digit. Maximum inflation Nigeria should have is 6%. When you have 6%, you should be going crazy. That 6%, how are we going to survive it? That's number one. And how do you do that? You have to make sure that your fiscal policy is correct, that the government doesn't run deficit. These people you call government now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you call government, they are violating everything. First, they are not accounting for money. Trillions are getting lost. Even their own friends, IMF, World Bank, who try to help them because they like them for this subsidy policy, who try to help them, still cannot but complain that almost 9 trillion is missing. By my own calculation, over 197 trillion is missing, not even 9 trillion. So that's one, the money is not coming in. So if the money is not coming in, what do? They have to now borrow money to do basic services. And because the basic services they are doing are inflated because of poor procurement and poor appropriation. So in the end, they cannot fight inflation. What they can do is to adjust the figure of inflation. But in reality, how do you know when you go and buy food in the market today, when you come back 2 weeks later, the price has gone up? It doesn't matter what the government says, inflation has come down.
Are you saying you wouldn't borrow? Are you saying you yourself, you wouldn't borrow if you were president?
Why would you borrow when you can collect? If you have a property, if you were managing a property, and all the rent you are supposed to collect on that property is 100 million, and you need only 23 million to maintain the premises, why will you go and borrow? Where you're supposed to collect 100 million, you collect the 100 million and the money doesn't enter the account, you go and borrow. You only borrow to do projects, and that money you are borrowing, you're not borrowing money to spend. Countries that borrow money, this is how you borrow. First, you maintain that any money that's supposed to be paid to the government is paid into the government accurately. And the money is recognized accurately. And the person who is the chairman, appropriation committee in the House or representative in the Senate are not thieves, feeding the budget with their own so that they can use the money to go and run for election in their state. No, the appropriation person is the cleanest person you will find. And the House committee and Senate committee on audit, they audit the account very well. We know that the money is entering the account. If you do that, Nigeria will become a lender, not a borrower. I can tell you that.
All right. So you've led quite nicely to my next question, which was going to be around tax and the reforms there. So what would you keep? What would you modify? What would you remove? Like, what would you do?
Taxing is not where you start from. You start from getting people employed and productive. Because Nigeria happens to be a country that has a baseline income, minimum income that we cannot fall below, no matter what. Therefore, you manage that income to see that government expenditure is within that income. So your fiscal policy now is not like what President Tinubu is doing. It's not to take money from people's pocket to fund the lifestyle and misbehavior and bad judgment of those who are in government. You use your tax now to accumulate wealth, to create industries, and to accumulate, and you employ people through projects so that through their productivity and their earnings, you can now fund the refinancing of projects that are meant to create. For example, if you say you want to generate electricity in Nigeria and you work out all the components of it and realize that you might need to borrow some money in order to build 3 more dams, a transmission line, thermal station, and all of that. And you need the Chinese, German, whoever to do it for you. And they give you a 30-year loan, whatever. That project itself is going to pay the debt back on its own. So the tax you are collecting is meant for you, when the moratorium ends, to be able to deal with that and to deal with the payment of the interest. And if, for example, I borrow money for power station, those people who are bringing generator, bringing a few other things in, I can tax a percentage of the generator money because I know that the ordinary people are going to benefit if I manage to solve the problem of electricity. So where do I finance the immediate term repayment, which will start in 5 years from now? I will accumulate some money from taxing those who are selling generators and all of that. If I want to set up automotive industry in Nigeria, I know that if I work with the Koreans, work with Germans, with the Chinese, I can set up automotive plant in Nigeria that will employ about 750,000 people. And I put that one in Enugu, I put one in Kaduna, I put one in Maiduguri, I put one in Ibadan, and I put one in, say, Jos or wherever, or Benue. What do I do? What I do is that I'm not borrowing cash from them to give to me. The machinery and equipment and everything is brought in. We value it at $25 billion. So whatever cars we buy, which the government itself will be the first buyer, we buy from it, they repay the loan. However, for me to pay after moratorium, to pay before the productivity of that plant can pay itself, I can say, okay, Prince Adebayo likes to ride Rolls Royce. So he brings cars in. Just, okay, he will pay 35% for bringing his luxury car in. All that money is dedicated to pay to the financing of the car that the ordinary people are going to use, which we are bringing in, or for a rail line and things like that. So taxation, therefore, is not about government becoming a pickpocket. It's a well-planned, strategic value expression where we say to people, when you buy a Rolex watch and bring it to Nigeria, you pay 100% of the value of that Rolex watch. But we use that money, is dedicated for teaching people certain technology. Look at Ethiopia. If you bring an SUV to Ethiopia, if you buy the car for $50,000 in America, when you get to Ethiopia, you pay them $50,000. But they are using that money to develop infrastructure in their state, to develop in their country, to develop auto industry, to develop things. That is why the fastest industrializing country in Africa today is Ethiopia. And they have the largest dam, generating the highest level of electricity. So this is what we do taxation for. It's not the Agbero taxation that President Tinubu is used to, where they will start at motor park, collect money from you, go to my Balogun market, collect money from you. At the federal level, taxation is a fiscal policy to achieve allocative efficiency and ensure that you correct certain behavior. That behavior that does not lead to productivity is highly taxed. Behavior that leads to productivity is highly subsidized. That is the essence of it.
Clear. So I'm going to ask one final question, and then I'm going to engage the rest of the people on stage, and because I'm sure many of them have questions for you. Whether the question I'll pose now before bringing them in is what measurable indicators should Nigerians use to judge you and your performance? So let's say your first 2 years or 3 years in office. So the same judgment we're making now. Let's assume you were in office. What are the economic indicators that Nigerians should use to judge?
If you are Nigerian, I beg Nigerians, never wait for 3 years to judge a government, because by that time you have lost 3 years of your life. And 300 million, 250 million people losing 3 years, that's the 750 million years lost. So what we need to do is clear. You judge my government by what I do before I take the oath of office. The moment in January they announced Prince Adewole Adebayo is thereby elected president, within 1 month, you will see the list of my cabinet. Yes, because by now, if you are running for president, you don't have people you are going to make minister, this, that. You don't have them in your head. You have no business. Because all of these things you want to achieve, the manpower to achieve them, whether they are in Nigeria now, whether they are abroad, as all these Nigerians, you identify them already. The person who in the police who will be IG of police, I already know. I have about 7 people that I'm watching them, watching their career. They're two like that. So by February, you will see a list of cabinet members, proposed cabinet members, and their profile pushed online. And you'll be having sessions like this, discussing, because between that time and June, when the National Assembly will be composed, you will be talking about them. This man is good to Attorney General. This man, I know him when he was practicing law. He did this, he did. People will be discussing it already. And those people who have been nominated or suggested, they will be asking questions. People will be questioning them. We have enough time between when they are nominated and when we have to officially submit their name to National Assembly. You have enough time to know who these people are, what portfolio they are giving them. And anybody who has a scandal, a problem, or an issue, people will talk about it. So that we can immediately question the person. If the person cannot answer, we put another person immediately. So that's number 1. 2, before we come in at all, because immediately you are elected, this is the practice. The government of the day will set up a transition committee. You who are coming in, you set up a transition committee, and 2 of you will start to interact. Find out, okay, what's state of finance. Right now, I know virtually everything going on in government because I've been paying attention. I know how much money they are paying, what they are not paying, all the lies they're telling, I know. So I'm not going to get there and say, oh, they lied to me. You can't lie to me even now, as I'm telling you now. You can't lie to me because I take time to find out what they are doing. When they haven't paid the soldiers, they claim they are paid them. I know they haven't because I'm not far away from the people who are supposed to be paid. When they say they pay contractors, I know all the contract. I know the contractor association. I call them. Have they paid you? They say no. They've not paid all their liars. I know. So you have sufficient knowledge. So then the people we are going to work with, international partners and all of that, instead of me dancing Owambe up and down that I'm elected president, I'm president-elect, the people I'm going to be talking to are potential allies, even though I would not like to upset the government of the day, but I will be interacting with the allies that I need to work with. International connection that I have, they are the people I will be talking to. So the day we go to Eagle Square by God's grace to take the oath of office, that same day, we will give you our 100-day plan. And the 100-day plan must be capable, 1, of giving you a budget. Because the day I come in, this abomination budget of President Tinubu goes. Because I am going to give you, right now in SDP, we are writing 4-year budgets. Last time we wrote it and we discussed it in the media, maybe they are not interested, but every year when APC writes their own budget, we prepare our own budget. So our economy policy, our security policies, last time we had it online, you can send the link to them to share to you. 89 military officers participated in our security policy forum. So we know what is going on. It's not coming there and start blabbing around. Even the geography of the villa, where I'm supposed to go, I know the geography of the villa from the beginning to the end because I've been going there in and out over time. So long and short of this is that I know every local government in Nigeria. I've gone there with my leg. So I'm not the president that somebody will tell. So before I get sworn in, I go around the country on town hall, quiet interaction with people, partner with all segments of the people, talk with taxi drivers, talk with market women, talk with Nigeria Labour Congress, talk with petroleum workers, talk with law enforcement. Every sector of the economy I'm going to work with, of the society, they know me. I talk to them. The target for traditional rulers, I meet with them, target for ulamas and imams. I meet with them, churches, can, all of them, so that we can be more realistic. Now, we now give you a budget. Within 60 days of coming to government, we go to the National Assembly and give them a new budget. And in that budget, we must have a 1-year plan to reduce unemployment by half, to have a balanced budget and amortize government debt so that there's no contractor who goes to collect a government contract that needs to give a bank collateral. There's nowhere in the world, except some terrible economy like Argentina, Peru, some other ones like that. If you, in the past in Nigeria, if you are a government contractor, you get LPO, local purchasing order, from a government agency, you take it to a bank. That document, once they verify it, is your collateral, because government will not fail in its payment. I will restore that order and I will publish the financial regulation. Everybody will know. Now, I would ensure that EFCC, I go to the National Assembly and adjust the EFCC does not disturb citizens again. EFCC focuses on people in government only. Let the police deal with people who are outside. ICPC and EFCC, their job is to focus on government money, people touching government money. The rest of breaking the law, stealing, fraud, whatever in the public, police will deal with that. EFCC has no business dealing with that. Those are the things I will do in the first 100 days so that it is clear where I'm focused. Then, within a year, we will have reduced unemployment by half. And how do we do that? One, we ensure that we go back to Chapter 2 of the Constitution and invest our money in the social sector. Once we put every child in school, ensure that child that is in school completes their immunization in the school, have their nutritional metrics measured in the school, and every family that has a child in school, if they must have at least one person who's the breadwinner in that family employed. If they are not employed, National Directorate of Employment will fix them unemployment. The problem we are going to have basically is that almost every amount of money that's available in government will be spoken for. There will be no free money to attend conferences, to repair presidential jet, to waste away, to go and do seminar for senators, to be none. And if we apply our money that way, everybody will get engaged. There is no room for any Nigerian to be selling akara and kulikuli in 2026. Why? Because one company, one trader can supply kulikuli and akara to the whole of the community. If you have a local government, 5 people in a ward selling kulikuli is enough, because that's not a very creative, technically challenging field. We put these people to learn vocations, proper skill. Every child born in Nigeria has primary and secondary compulsory. Not only qualitative, it is free and it is mandatory. You must go. If you don't go, we will catch you and put you in a remand home. You must go to that school. No matter what religion, Alumanjiri, if you want to be Alumanjiri, you want to learn Quran, you learn inside the school. There will be a Quranic teacher inside the school teaching you that Quran. So you go to school. So when you put all the kids in school, now we do revamping of our universities. The Education Trust Fund, I will take it within 100 days. I will take it from government. I will hand it over to the universities, because if you hand over Education Trust Fund to the university, the money generated in the Education Trust Fund is enough for all the universities to be self-financing, because that was the agreement between General Abacha and ASU. When ASU was going on strike all the time, Abacha said, I have no money to pay you. They said, don't worry yourself. We will find the money. You will never have to fund the university again. And they came with the Education Trust Fund. And when the money started accumulating, government fired ASU board and put politicians in charge of it. So I will take that education trust fund, give back to the university. So public universities will be funded from there. And then I will make presidential intervention from time to time. So we'll fund the universities, we'll expand their capacity, and they will be able to take people. Then our polytechnics will now be realigned back to the original design of why we had Ibadan Poly and Yabatech, that they are not for degrees, they are for their technical soundness. They produce technically sound people, which we can now link with modern industry. And every youth has somewhere to go. Those are the measures we are going to take. And you will see that the question about corruption and no corruption, nobody's going to discuss it. Because corruption is not possible except the presidency is doing it, because Section 5 of the Constitution vests all the executive power in the president. So it is impossible to execute anything without the presidency. So if you see a crime committed in government, trace it to the presidency. If you see money missing, trace to the presidency. It is impossible, almost impossible, to be a standalone thief in Nigeria. If any thief you see in government at smallest level, they have a godfather inside the villa. So that you will see that once our villa is not a villa of mafia, it's a villa of statesmen, visionaries, and leaders who are not interested in making one cent more. You can see, if you go and do my profile, you can check. Anybody who knows me, who is interested, who is curious, will know that I don't need 1 more cent in my life. So that's not an issue. And I don't have anybody around me, family members who need Nigerian money. So what is clear is that you will find Nigerians, and I know so many of them, who are ready to lay down their lives, serve as Minister of Finance without taking a dime. But if the president is there to accumulate wealth, is there to accumulate money, has gatekeepers who collect money from him, who has gatekeepers who collect money for appointment, who have gatekeepers who collect money from contractor, and all of that, that is why the system is rotten. So you will see, those are the changes you will see within 100 days to 1 year. Then you will see that the country has changed. And the trick of that is that once Nigerians have confidence that this government is a clean government, clear government, and direct, the wealth of Nigeria will now enter Nigeria, because Nigerians are burying their wealth. They are not risking their money. Even me I'm talking to you, I was talking to my bankers yesterday. I will calculate, I have capacity to do up to 250 billion investment. I won't do it, because you have to become a thief in an environment like this to be able to make a profit to thrive. So that's why a lot of people are not putting their resources out. Once the government becomes clean, judiciary becomes clean, law enforcement becomes clean, people will bring out their money, they will invest, they will buy land, they know that nobody's going to steal the land from them. No minister will seize your land because it's just a minister. No person in the government will steal your contract because you created a value chain and they want to steal it from you. It doesn't happen. So Nigeria will start to boost, employment will rise, and then if you secure the country and make adequate investment in rural transportation and logistics, you will see that farmland will go. I'm a farmer, for example. I have farms in many parts of the country, and my farms don't need a tarred road. What they need are just roads that have been solidified, graded, and solidly graded. And when workers not being kidnapped, my family will start booming.
And I will start let me bring some people in, because for me, look, I think everything you're saying, it sounds, I think if some of these things you're saying is implemented in Nigeria, the country will be transformed. I think that the challenge is always, how do you actually do it in a place like Nigeria? Now, there's some people here, some obedience, some people who perhaps think that what you're saying is ideological. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to engage, ask you questions, and hopefully you're able to answer those questions and demonstrate to them that you're more than capable of achieving and implementing some of these claims. I know Ruthie was one of the people that perhaps isn't convinced. I think Baron might not be as convinced, whereas people like Bonka, I think, are very supportive. So let me go to Baron first of all, and then I'll bring Ruthie in. Baron, please go ahead.
Thank you, Solomon. Thank you very much. Oga Adewole, I love your approach to governance. I think it's a very, very grounded approach, albeit a bit ideological. It sounds very grounded. The question I want to ask you is this: on one of your, I think one of your press conferences, you spoke on creating 30 million jobs, if I'm very correct, right? And lately, what has been dominating the media has been our first lady telling us that we should go and start kuli job and we should start, frying bolly and all that. So I want to ask you a question. This is a direct question.
Hello?
Yeah, I think his reception. I think his
Is it
reception.
me? Is it me? Can you
Yeah,
hear
it
me,
was your
Solomon?
reception, Baron. Finish the question.
Oh, I broke. Oh, so sorry. Yeah. I said Oga Adewole told us that he will create 30 million jobs. I don't know if I'm correct.
We had
Prince
all of
Adewole,
that. Yes, that's correct. It was when you were
that's very
putting your,
correct.
it was when
Yeah.
you were putting your question after talking about the kuli lady.
Okay. So my question is let's say NDC network. Okay, my question is this: can you try to break down those jobs by sector? Right? Can you try to outline the sectors where explain the what's it called? The estimated, what will be your funding source? Right? What will be your funding source? Those are the questions I want to ask you. Can you try to build on that? Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you. If you go to NASIMA, Nigerian Chamber of Commerce, Mines and Agriculture, they have over 50 sectors. Even if you go to the ministries alone, you will know that there are over 40 something ministries. So to avoid complicated analysis, take every ministry to be a sector. Take, for example, agriculture. And agriculture is in two forms. Take food cropping, food that you need to eat, and take cash cropping. And in the food cropping, take animal farm and take plant farming. In animal farm, take poultry, take fishery, take cattle rearing, because I do all of it. If you have 6 mega farms, because mega farms take time to set up. So you have a 5-year plan to have 6 mega farms. If you take medium-sized farms, 1 large farm per state, 36 medium farm. Medium farm, you can start in 9 months. Then take micro farms, 100, 1 per local government. You have 776 farms. Then you take mini farms, like tiny farms, 1 per ward, with just little cropping and all of that. The smallest you can do in agriculture is to have 10 people working. That's the smallest. If you set up anything agricultural, you can't have less than 10 people working, even if it's a small poultry, because the veterinary doctor who will come, the person who is going to clean the place, the person who is going to pick the eggs, the person who is going to go and market it, the security guard who is going to watch over it. So you can see that agriculture is labor intensive. So in agriculture alone, if you look at the Bank of Agric, the government said they put $500 billion, 500 billion in Bank of Agric. Go and ask the Bank of Agric. I was talking to them on Friday. They haven't seen any money. And that money is already spoken for. So that's Bank of Agric. If you look at agricultural sector alone, out of the 30 million jobs, 5 million will come through agriculture. Now, if you look at Nigeria security architecture, from forest guard to vigilante, to Amatekun, to state police, to local government police, which there is, to federal police, to now civil defense, to DSS. The president who said he will give them Agbado, he will hire 1 million, he has not done it. And the reason why they haven't done it is that if you hire people into the military, you have to expand training, you have to pay the trainers, you have to buy them kits, you have to give them barracks, you have to give them ration. All these trillions we are spending on Boko Haram war that we don't fight, all that money is going to private pockets. If you take all that money and you actually beef up the armed forces, you will be able to put in at least 1 million people into the security and law enforcement sector. That one is automatic. And you are going to get graduates who are well trained. Some of them are not even physically fit for military. They are just there to build drones, basic things like drones. Now you don't even need super intelligence to be able to build basic surveillance drones that they have no payload. They don't carry any payload. They're just surveillance drones. And you can build them in many forms now, very easy. University of Lagos, FUTME now. Just select a few universities, they will give you enough people to build drones. And these people will be doing drones and will modernize our military. It will not be that somebody is missing somewhere and you are massing soldiers to go there. In the states that they are kidnapping people, I go around. Recently, I went to the governor of one of the latest, and I was with the governor for a few hours. We were inside the governor's office, and I was looking around, thinking, I didn't see anything that looked like somebody who is in trouble. So I asked, okay, this area where they kidnap people now, when last did you see them? And I found out that you can't see them. So, first thing you do is to make sure that within 6 months to 9 months, every state governor, every commissioner of police can see his state real life. It doesn't cost that much money. And you just have a situation room where people are happy to do that. If you are governor of your state, you will be in your office, you can see every local government. You can see what is missing. You can see who is going where. So, that's that. Then you go to transport sector. In transport sector, you need to modernize. You cannot rely on agberos and all of that. You have to have a proper transport sector. It's not too much. You have to build bus terminals, have bus route, put insurance on every passenger automatically. It comes from your taking the transport. Put surveillance camera on any vehicle used for commercial. A private vehicle can refuse, but you will not be able to get your red license. That license plate itself that you have, that you can use to do commercial, that license plate will have camera on it. That at any point in time, you can see now all over the world, police vehicles all have cameras. If you are a commercial vehicle, you must have camera and must have a live feed. So all of these areas, innovation areas, are the areas to generate employment. The kuli lady and the akara man who are in the villa now, it is not that they are bad people. This is the limit of their own vision. They don't know that these things are capable of being done. Look at the person they put in their automotive council. There's one man they put in the automotive council. Go and Google it. Automotive design council. It's an accountant. So it doesn't know anything about automotive. It can't do anything. So the areas where they are going to use to create employment, they use the area to patronize their political people or their townspeople or their ethnic people. So they put all of them there, and they are now asking them to give them kickback and return from the budget, recurrent expenditure. They don't know how that sector itself can create employment. But you will see certain ministries that I've had occasion to interact with them, created income for them outside. If you look at it now, only 5 ministries of government are supposed to be on government appropriation. The rest of the ministries are supposed to be self-financing. Only 5 are supposed to be like justice, for example, because you cannot raise too much money from justice sector. Otherwise, people won't have access to the court. So, defense, for example, you cannot say defense you commercialize too much because you need to defend yourself. Policing, you cannot ask police to do that. If just 5 foreign affairs, for example, you cannot ask foreign affairs that they should be charging money. Who are they going to charge? Outside those 5 core, the rest can take care of themselves. So that is where the employment will come from, and that's where the financing will come from. And that is taking it sector by sector. So the 30 million jobs are jobs that you can get easily, direct jobs. Because if you look at housing, for example, government is not building housing. And why are they not building housing? Because they've put themselves in a situation where they allow the factor cost of housing to go up. So the point that when I started building houses as a developer, I was buying cement for 400 naira, 600 naira per bag. Now it's getting to 12,000, 13,000. So what of roofing sheets? In those days, I was even thinking of setting up a small corrugating roofing sheet extrusion farm because it's very easy to do. Lento and many of these companies were doing it. All of that now is out of reach. So because they decided to be making kickback from those who are dominating the sector, and the sector is now producing things that are beyond the reach of the people. But if you are building, modernizing houses, if you do a map across Nigeria, do a map. If you choose 5 towns per local government for modernization of their housing sector, you will see that you will employ more than 15 million people. If you look at how many people Jakande employed under Abacha when they were building the largest estate in Africa at that time, Warimpa, thousands of people came to Abuja to become contractors, bricklayers, and all of that in Warimpa. So those are the things you need to do. Then, health sector, you need to hire more nurses, hire more internists, hire more auxiliary people, hire more cleaners, hire more dietitians, hire more birth attendants and midwives. You hire more than 1.8 million if you are to be able to do that, to be able to service rural areas. Then look into the area of rapid rural electrification. The government has got it wrong, even from Obasanjo's time. I remember September 2001, I was asked to come and address the National Council on Power. I was just coming from South Africa, where I used to advise ESCOM, their power company at that time. And I came and Segun Agagu was the Minister of Power, and Danjuma Goje, who's a senator now, the former governor of Gombe State, was Minister of State. Liye Limoke, who was the governor of Recon River at that time, was Obasanjo's special advisor on power. Joseph Makoju was the MD, and Dr. Edet Atai Ekerendu was permanent secretary in the ministry. And all the commissioners of utilities, commissioner whatever, all came there, MD of NEPA, everybody. I said, listen, you guys are getting the electrification thing wrong. So I gave an explanation to them, and I advised them at that time that if you wanted to give electricity in the light of Obasanjo's regime, you cannot do it by this NIPP. I oppose the NIPP. I said NIPP, I've advised countries on similar projects. NIPP needs 25 years of consistent project management to be able to give you willable electricity. Therefore, what you need to do is partner with countries that have good solar technology, ask them to come to Nigeria based on volume and scale. Let them come and guarantee, come to Nigeria, we start producing solar panels, solar batteries, solar inverter in Nigeria. And you give 12.5 kilowatt in what we call energy poor communities. You give to every household. And then you get them to install, you get them to train them. That in exercise alone, if you go to 8,808 wards, in each ward, you will need to hire at least 100 people. So you can do the number. You will be able to get over 200,000 people working in all of those to install the solar panel, to train them. And if you go to Ondo, my community, you will see that I've trained hundreds of young people in that. And my house, my country home in Ondo, my law office, many of my businesses have been out of national grid for 21 years now. So, in fact, in one of the holidays, my children returned to the US. There was some storm where we were, and there was power cut. And my children were saying, this cannot happen in Nigeria. Nigeria is better than America, because they were born into the house with no power blinking. And my son now is 21 years old. He's never seen power blink, maybe once or twice. And he will know, okay, somebody switch off something. So it is doable. And these are things you can do, because if you are thinking of waiting for you to do generation, you do transmission across the country, you do step down power station, then you now get disco to now help you distribute power, cable it, and buy transformer. No government can do that in one lifetime. That is why President Tinubu now himself ran away from national grid to go and spend 18 billion to go and put a solar panel inside villa and solar power. By the way, when I have a house close to that place, I calculated everything. That 18 billion, I don't know where it went to. Everything they did there is not more than 2.2 billion. So I don't know. And they didn't even align the team properly. So they just wasted government money there.
So thank you. So, yes, sir. Thank you very much. I think you already answered my questions mid-segment. So I have a follow-up question before we open up the floor for speakers to engage you, sir. The next question I have is this. I think you said president cannot secure Nigerians. He should resign. I believe those were your words, sir. Right?
Isn't that what you will tell your gate man? If you have a gate man and there's breaking, they steal your generator, they steal your solar panel.
Yes, so I say I love that, because sorry.
Go ahead.
Baron, this is your NDC network. Hopefully when Prince becomes president, he'll help you fix it, sure. Look, whilst we wait for Baron's network to reconnect, let's take another.
It is now we're talking about bandwidth. The bandwidth problem is caused by the president.
Sorry, sir, I'm back. I'm back. Okay. So stop dragging my network. I'm back. So sorry. It was a call. I got a call. So I was saying, since you said that, I love that. But that takes me back to what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said. So to be fair, security issues has been things that presidents have used to campaign. Tinubu used it, Buhari used it, even Jonathan at some point in his second term tried to use it. So my question is for you is this, right? Would you implement in your first year, right? They be different. Now, how would they be different from what the current government has done in terms of security and security infrastructure? What current what policies? I want to hear your pathway to securing Nigerians, because to be fair, Nigeria has been. I think this is one of the worst in Nigerian history when it comes to security. Right, children are being kidnapped. Even with the American intervention, it's like as if security has become rocket science. As if the solution to solving the security problems in Nigeria is something that one person cannot solve. So what particular policy and reform would you set up, would you put in place to ensure that it will not be the same business as usual talk in terms of our security issues? Thank you very much, sir.
It's not as complicated. The solution is to have a president who wants to solve it. Let me tell you why it looks like it's difficult to solve. It's not. There's a lot of money in insecurity. And anybody who gets there, we start talking, I'm going to kick them out, I'm going to do this. Once the person gets there, discover that, look, all the money I've been looking for all my life, this insecurity is where I'm going to make it. So the first thing is to elect a president who doesn't want to make money out of your misery, blood, and death? Simple. Go and analyze all these states of insecurity. They are low level, low intensity activities. The highest level insecurity in Nigerian history is 1966 to 1970, when we had the coups, counter-coup, and the Civil War. That is when we have the real one. After that, we've not had anything serious. The present one we have now, if you kick Boko Haram out of the villa, and the people in the villa are not Boko Haram themselves, Boko Haram will go away. What you call insecurity is a government program. And the government is the one that will wind down the program when they want to wind it down. If you have a president who wants to wind it down, he will tell all his boys, we are winding down this thing, let's find other ways to make money. Let us not make money from this method. Let us find other things to do. And it will go away. Go and see it. There is no way you can separate those who are in charge of security from those who are in charge of insecurity. That is that. Then let us beat about the bush. If President Tinubu wants to end Boko Haram, ISWAP, Lakurawa, whatever, between now and December, he will do it. Whether he will do it is up to him. Because soldiers always obey the commander-in-chief. If you don't obey the commander-in-chief, you can lose your life. You can lose your commission. You can lose your freedom. So you cannot expect any soldier, any officer, to go and fight anybody he has not been sent to go and fight, or fight longer than he was told to fight, or fight beyond the kilometer he was given to fight. So go and see it. So don't deceive yourself. And an army that would defeat Nigerian army has to be very huge, very big. What is going on now is equating friendly match with competition. When you are playing friendly match, you know there's no trophy to win, nothing. You don't break your leg. You just pass the ball here, two of you hug each other and go and sit down. There's no enmity between the people in government and the people causing insecurity. And there are detailed analysis that you will get that will show to you that it's a dance, tango. It takes two to tango. So they're tangling among themselves. So for me, when I come in, I have a clear mandate to clear the rubbish. And I will clear the rubbish. Service chief knows that I don't have interest in managing the relationship. I want them out, and they will go out. If the chief of army staff knows that the only thing I can do for my commander-in-chief is to get rid of these people, and to get rid of them in 3 months, he will ask me what he needs to do it. I will give it to him. If he's failing in doing it, he knows that I'm going to remove him. There's nothing in between. You will see that the government is not a stupid government. Don't be deceived. When it comes to security, the government is not stupid. People who are inside their houses, imagining a coup in their head, before they take any step, government has arrested all of them. The suspect who ran out of the country, the government is looking for them. When government was interested in looking for Nnamdi Kanu, he went to East Africa, he went all over. The government captured him in one place, put him there, and brought him back. Government will catch any. As I'm talking to you now, President Tinubu knows where I am. He knows where I'm coming from. He knows the telephone I'm using to talk to you. He knows everything. If he wants to get me before this such conversation is over, they will surround where I am and they will take me straight to him. So
Thank you very
don't be deceived by that at all.
Thank you very much, sir. I think it's time to open up the space to the audience and those that want it. Solomon, are you there?
Yeah, let's bring in Bonka, and then we'll go to JP and then Divine. And then I think Oga Boss SDP and Governor can then Abby can go next. So Bonka, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you very much. Can you hear me very well?
Loud and clear.
Yes. Good afternoon, Prince. It's interesting to hear that you're a farmer. By the way, is your farm also off National Grid? This is personal, just not my Kenisha.
Yeah, You have to be, otherwise, how are you going to get it? I have farms in Edo, Adamawa, Taraba, many places. I have
Oh
farms in many
wow.
places.
I'm going to
Yes,
reach out to you because I'm a farmer too, but I deal more in cash crop for now. But yeah, but I would, yeah, I'll reach out to you at some point, sir. But
no
that's
problem. We
yes,
do both.
the
Importance of farming is
yes,
this. Three importance. One, you do import replacement. So people comment that everything you farm must be exported. It's not so. If you grow fish for local consumption, people will not import fish anymore. So you are helping the economy that way.
right,
Secondly, some of the things you produce can be packaged and exported, but the most important thing is to have food security in the country, to have fish stock for industries, and to create gainful employment for people and to pass skills to them. If you work on a farm, you will learn how to repair tractors. I have people now who work on my farm who came as they can't speak English and they didn't go have any proper education, but they can disassemble and reassemble the tractors. They can reassemble our machine for milling rice. They've learned how to take care of cattle. They know how to give them medicine. They learn so many things. So those are the things that are important in agriculture, and we can discuss that later.
yeah. All right, thank you very much, sir. So, but now to the most serious issue, right? You speak of being most of the things that I see that you're talking about is that you're talking like I'm trying to look for the best way to put it. Most of the presidential candidates always talk about how they're going to be better administrators. Yeah, many do not see that Nigeria actually needs a reformer. Many look at Nigeria as this thing is not broken. I just need to go there and do a better job with what is on ground. But many of us see Nigeria as something that needs a reform, not a patching. You speak of things you can do better in Abuja, but you don't put in the consideration that if you become president, you are only there for a limited time. What happens when you're gone? Right? So okay, you do all these good things. Somebody comes that does not believe in what you did and reverses them in 1 year. So this is the much longer project that I see that a lot of people who we do not like for us. We're not many in my school of
Let
thought.
me just
I
let me
don't.
continue. Let me get your
They
question.
won't let me finish my thought if you
No, no,
keep
no,
cutting
no,
me, Sal.
no,
Yeah.
no. Are
Okay.
you
Yeah.
projecting your own thoughts, or you are reacting to what I said specifically? Because there isn't anything I
Things I
said.
want to put down,
Hold on,
and
hold
the
on. I
the
will give you
moderators will
back.
say I'm
Yeah,
spending a lot of
let him.
time.
No, hang on, Bunker.
I, I
Let
will
Prince
give you
Adebayo
back because you
respond.
are projecting your own issues. You're talking about other people who are not here. What they
Yeah,
said, I don't know
let
what they
me
meant.
Prince, let me give you some context. I think Bunker, I mean, there's lots of evidence that demonstrates that he has a particular sort of, viewpoint, and I think that that's perhaps where the projection is coming from. But in any case, I'll allow you to respond.
What I'm saying is this: tell me, from what I said, which one doesn't have reform? Because reform simply means finding a fundamental change in the method and process of doing things. That's what we call reform. So the way government revenue is managed, the way education is done, anything is capable of reform, provided that you are making fundamental changes in the way the things are being done. So that is basically what, not renaming things. If you do these things well, they cannot be reversed. It is things that are not done well that are being reversed. All the universities established in Nigeria, none of them has been reversed. The states created in Nigeria, none has been reversed. The armed forces we set up in Nigeria, nobody has reversed them. So if you make a change that is fundamental in any sector and is working, nobody can reverse them. You could see that when the government is even playing with the idea of changing NYSC uniform, people are already querying them like, have you lost your mind? What's your problem? And NYSC was set up far around the time when I was born. So back to you, but I want to understand that many of the things we want to do require fundamental reforms. However, operating them efficiently and honestly is the foundation. Before you start to do any kind of reform, you must make sure that you do them honestly and according to the law. Then, where certain things require fundamental changes, those changes may require constitutional amendment, they may require legislative framework change, they may require policy rejigging. You do them. There's nothing, reform is not a standalone thing. So let me yield back to you.
So the kind of policy the kind of reforms that you just spoke about now is what we call administrative reforms. So the kind of reforms that I'm talking about is structural reforms, a reform that understands the multi-dynamic environment Nigeria is in, and one that probably might take us back. I don't want to go into that like murky water. So let me quickly read something that the sage said in I think he said it in 1954. So this is something he said. He said, yes, this is okay. Yeah, the heterogeneous character of the peoples of Nigeria is in itself a potential check on the emergence of a totalitarian form of government. It is most unlikely that all the ethnic groups in the country will succumb at one and the same time to the charm and hypnotism or the blustering and and the bludgeoning of a dictator. It is not going to be easy for any leader, however powerful he may be, to regiment Nigeria's diverse people into a uniform mass, either of terrorized subjects or with blind fanatic followers. So when I listen to you, when I listen to maybe Peter Obi, they fall into that category of leaders who want to create a uniform mass of subjects, which is something I see that is not practical in an environment like Nigeria. That's one of the reasons why
Bonka, why
we
don't
are
you
more
be
aligned.
Bonka, why don't you
Yes,
be direct? Like, if you're asking him that he should agitate for Yoruba, why don't you just get to the
that's not
No,
what I'm
you
agitating.
cannot ask me that. You know
That's
that's
not
an
what I'm agitating for.
it's
Okay,
not
so
Wait,
that's an abomination.
okay.
You cannot ask me that.
Oh, okay. I'm sure like that's not what I'm advocating for. I believe in Nigeria. I don't believe in one Nigeria. I believe in a united Nigeria. And what
So
I'm
what's the
saying is
question
that
though? What's the question so that we can know?
so
What
the question is that your focus more is on administrative change. And what we see the president doing now is structural changes. He is fighting for regionalism, he's fighting for state police, he's fighting for tax laws that is based on derivatives. And if you look at it, those are the kind of the same things that the founding fathers were fighting for at independence.
okay.
So
Now,
now, one more thing before I put off the mic.
no,
You
the
said
question.
yes. That's the question. The question is, you've disagreed with Tinubu all through. Are you also disagreeing with his structural changes? Are you disagreeing with his regionalism structures, his state police structures? And you're saying that it's just better to be a great guy there in Abuja and not kind of decentralize power in a way
Now,
where
only commentaries now, not
yeah,
asking questions, so that we can.
yeah, can you
Because
like be direct, Bonka? You haven't
that's
actually
my
asked a direct
question.
okay, fine.
So
Another
That's the
you
question so
question.
that I
okay?
can address them.
So
Another
you're saying your
question.
question is that
Yes. So
is he
now
disagreeing
the
with
other
Tinubu's
question,
regional?
why do I feel like people are trying to gag me here? I don't
No,
know
we're
why
not
I'm feeling
gagging you,
that way.
Bonka. Wait 1 second,
Yeah.
Bonka. I don't know if you realize, but you haven't actually asked a direct question. So what I understand
The
from what you've
direct
said so
question
far,
I'm asking is that the prince is talking more of administrative reforms. And
okay.
I'm
So what's the
saying that
question?
No,
that's the
I got the
question.
question now.
What
The
about
Okay,
question.
structural reforms?
Okay.
Am I speaking in
clear.
another language?
Okay, clear. No,
Yeah,
clear. Now
yeah.
we get it. Okay.
All right. Okay. Like, what is the place of structural reforms, regionalism, state police, and that's now the second thing I'm trying to talk about is when you said that if somebody it can take more than 3 years to build a nation if you are building the right foundations. And another example I'm going to put is in the First Republic again. When Awolowo took over in 1951, most of his landmark policies did not happen until 1956. The free education did not come into line until then. The UCH he built, free health. The NTA was actually, the Western Nigeria was maybe much, much later, 1959. All the Western Marketing Board, it happened way back after like 6 years. So it's still possible for you to spend 2-3 years to build the right foundation before you now start kind of having a golden age, the landmark for a golden age. So do you not agree that most of the things that Tinubu is doing now could actually be the foundations of a golden age, because they seem similar to a lot of things that were happening in the First Republic? Tax laws, derivative stuffs and all that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this intervention. Let us start with the first thing. Government operates on scales: immediate, medium term, long term. Now, you have children kidnapped in Ogumosho, families killed in Yewata. You have different parts of the country, one chance, kidnappers, whatever. They don't need structural reforms to stop those things. You need to stop criminality inside government. You need to direct proper policing methods, things you can do right away. You are stealing government budget money right in front of you in the National Assembly. You are saying, switch off the mic and all those abominations. You are having fictitious government agencies created just to siphon money in the budget, and people are fighting. They are having a food fight frenzy in front of television cameras. All those things need to be addressed now. At any point in time in the history of the country, reforms will come from time to time. And we've always done reforms over time. We didn't start with 36 states. We started with 3 regions. First, we started with one whole country. Then in 1946, we started with 3 regions. Then we started in 1963, we became 4 regions. And in 67, we became 12 states. Then in 76, we became 19 states. And then in 1989, we became 30 states. Then in 1995 or so, we became 36 states. So those are structural reforms of the system of governance. So we didn't have the same court system before. At the time in this country, there was no court of appeal. Only the Western region had a court of appeal. So many changes we make all the time. That does not negate the need for efficiency right now. Because if you make those structural reforms and the people who are in government are not efficient in the management of those structural reforms, you will need to make them again. So there is no either or. And now let me address the issue of what President Tinubu is doing. He's not doing anything that is meaningful, because it took him 3 years joking around and just 2 months now to do state police. And the content of it, the parameters of it is not known. Even people in the National Assembly who are passing the law, they are complaining I can't read it. So we already knew before he came that we were going to do state police. Everybody knows that. But the state police that you will do does not mean that the current police you have should be corrupted and you don't do anything about it. If you do state police and the state police behave like the current police, it's double jeopardy. It means that if you are traveling from Ojuelegba to Victoria Island. Lagos State Police will rob you at Ojuelegba and search your phone and collect all your money. And the balance of your money will be collected when you get to Iponri, because federal police will be waiting for you there. So it is not just creating police that is called reform. To reform the police, you have to reform the entire law enforcement proper and have rule of law. So that whether you are state police, you are federal police, you are operating under the constitution, under the rule of law, and that the attorney general of this country is independent of the president, and that he can actually arrest a minister, a fellow minister, and charge him to court. He can arrest the first lady and charge her to court. And then you have an independent reform. They are deceiving people with political manipulation, calling it reform, leaving the core thing. If you say to the Nigerian police today, just like it was demanded by the NSAS, that's the real reform. What the president is doing now is what you actually call administrative changes. Because what he's saying is that you have Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, Commissioner of Police, FCT. But instead of being responsible to the IG, they'll be responsible to Wike, for example, he's Minister of FCT now. And then the one on Lagos will be responsible to Sanwo-Olu. You haven't reformed the police. You haven't brought a new policing culture, a new policing standard. Whether, if you get to the UK, whether it is Scotland Yard, which is the national police, or it is the constabulary of the nearest town there that is attending to you, policing standard is the same. Citizens know, I have no reason to fear the police. Whether it's federal police, whether it's state police, they know that if I'm in trouble, I run towards the police. I don't run away from them. So they know what the policeman will do, what he cannot do. So those are the things we will do in terms of reform. Not just, so it is their own that is administrative. So then talking about Chief Awolowo statement he made in 1950, first let us get it right. Everybody can quote Chief Awolowo, but if you want to quote Chief Awolowo, you must quote Chief Awolowo in the context of what he has done after that. Because this same Chief Awolowo, who was talking about Nigeria when they were young people, when we didn't know one another very well, that same Chief Awolowo became finance minister in Gawan's government. He was now no longer a Western region person. He was now a national officer, and he did well. Many of the revenue changes, centralizing the revenue and all of that, Chief Awolowo did them when he was with finance minister under Gawan. In any case, Chief Awolowo was at the Constitutional Assembly in 1977, and he agreed to the 1979 Constitution. Chief Awolowo was a man of genuine commitment, absolute integrity, and will not compromise anything he does not believe in or did not believe in. That same Chief Awolowo, if he did not believe in the 1979 Constitution, he would not have run for president to become executive president. He competed against Shagari and came second. He nearly won. So, are you saying that if Chief Awolowo had won in 1979 under 79 Constitution, he will not implement the Constitution under which he won? Of course he would. However, as time goes on, we have been amending our Constitution. We have a new section 285, which deals with election litigation. We could have amended other provisions of the Constitution too, dealing with poverty, dealing with human rights. It's just that the leadership are more concerned about amending the Constitution to satisfy the areas that concern them. We've amended the Constitution on the issue of if the president travels, will he hand over to the deputy or vice or not? We've amended the Constitution to reflect how many times a political officer, elected official can be sworn in or not sworn in. Clearly, they have been amending the Constitution, making reforms. But the reforms are not the reforms on the side of the people. The reforms we will make are not reforms along ethnic line and all of that. They are reforms along class lines. to see that one, our constitution as it is today does not tolerate poverty, does not tolerate hunger, homelessness, joblessness. And if we want to make constitutional amendment, is to make constitutional amendment to put sanctions in the constitution against any person who becomes a governor or president or minister or whoever who is not able to meet the mandate of eradicating poverty and insecurity. Those are the reforms I want to make. Because over time, 60 years after Awolowo made those speeches, in fact, getting to 70 years now, you cannot tell me that the 70-year-old position of Nigeria is where we still are today. We need to make reforms. We need to create efficiencies and bring government closer to the people in the grassroots. But it is not about ethnicity versus ethnicity. It's basic thing that for services that people need on a daily basis, for services that impact on their welfare and growth, the lower governments, the lower level, local government and state should have access to the power to ensure that people don't suffer poverty and all of that. Then resource control. Now, the best resource you can get in a country is the manpower, because all these minerals, oil, and all of that, they are not going to make a difference. If you move all the oil in the south and pump them to the north, and move all the minerals in the north to the south will not be better, and the south will not be better either. What will be better is any region, any group, any population that is capable of educating its people to the point where the person who is condemned to kuli lifestyle and Akara lifestyle by President Tinubu and the wife can actually have a sound education, and in 2 years they will be assembling drones for you. They'll be doing basic machinery. They will have this skill to make basic industrial products, and you can be useful to the rest of the world. Those are the changes that we need to make. So whether you call them administrative, you call them otherwise, there are changes that will impact in the life of the people. And the last point I want to make is that when Chief Awolowo introduced free education, introduced free healthcare, introduced rural development, government that came after him, some like Akintola government, enhanced it. Gawan government, because it was part of it, enhanced it. When it came to Obasanjo's government, Ali must go, they were reversing many of those changes. So there is no time that it is said in jurisprudence, for those who are lawyers or those who are interested in constitutionalism, that no parliament can bind its own successor. So there is no amount of reform that you make in a country that you say, I will make a permanent reform and they will never change it. That is not correct. When you go, another government will come, they will reverse everything. When in 1977, um, 78, President Obasanjo, or head of state Obasanjo, changed our national anthem, even wrote this in the constitution and put Arise to Compatriot. When Tinubu came down, he changed back to the old Nigeria will hail thee. Even though if you go to our constitution now, what you will see there is still Arise to Compatriot. So what does it tell you? It tells you that don't bother yourself about, well, make a permanent reform, nobody can change. No, make sure that you use the time you have in government to make immediate impact, and make sure that the areas where you make impact meet the yearnings of the people. It is the people themselves who will defend those legacies later when somebody wants to come and change them, because they will realize this thing is working for us, it has changed our life, so why are you now coming to try to change it? Those are the things that bring permanence into reform. It is not, there's no cast in iron, cast in titanium kind of reform you can make. If people don't like it, if they're not happy, they will destroy it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. So, sir, we will take 2 questions at once. So I will have Sir JP and Abe Governor ask their questions. Then I think, sir, you can respond to both of them at the same time. So, my brother, Sir JP, throw your question, please.
Okay, I must commend you. Thank you very much for coming on this space, and I will not want to bore you more or elongate your stay here. One of the critical questions I wanted to ask, Baron asked about it, which is security, because that actually breaks my heart the more. The things you've stated are, quite nice, quite, doable and all of that. But my own concern is in terms of implementation, in terms of making those things actually work after just being on paper. So, in your own words, in your own view, if elected, how would you go about the implementation of these ideas that you've given? How would you go about the monitoring of these ideas to make sure it's actually fruitful? Not necessarily fulfilling all of it, but at least maybe two-thirds of it to show that yes, it actually reached a particular stage of fruitfulness, so to say.
Sir, before you respond, Governor, are you there? Abe Governor. Governor.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Ask your question.
My question is going to be like 2 minutes question because, Bonka used like 7 to 9 minutes on my timer. Good evening, Mr. Prince, distinguished lawyer Prince. I've followed you for a while. I enjoyed your submission, but today I felt a bit disappointed on a couple of reasons. Insecurity did not start under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Insecurity has started way back. And the last time I checked, House Congressman Scott Perry, from representing Kentucky in the United States Capitol Hill, said, and I quote, under oath, that we need to stop funding insecurity in African countries. We need to stop funding Boko Haram. We need to stop funding ISIS. We need to stop funding Al-Shabaab in Somalia. And this is a U.S. Congressman, Committee on African Affairs, Congressman Scott Perry. So you should know, and I know you do know this, distinguished Prince, that insecurity is a political tool used by the Western ideology, or by the Western, colonizers. I call it, in the English word, they call it gentrification or cleansing. Also, recently, the Harry Kissinger report was declassified in 1974, specifically mentioned 13 countries, and Nigeria was the only country in Africa that we must depopulate Nigeria by all means possible. And this thing is in the media, is on Google, Kissinger report. In fact, they said we must force Nigeria to take the SAP. While growing up, I used to blame General IBB Babangida as a bad person, the painter, but since last 2 years that the Kissinger report was declassified, it shows that the SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, was even part of the American way to control our population. And I know as a distinguished lawyer, as a son, I'm sure you're aware of all this research because our public domain. So for you to not put insecurity under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think is a bit disingenuous, sir. Because this man has introduced forest guard. This man is trying to introduce state police. This man also is trying to introduce what we call maritime coastal guards in the marine and blue economy. There are so many things in the pipeline. And this man has tried. So the question is, I think we should give kudos rather than criticizing. If we're going to criticize, we criticize constructively, not out of partisan politics. And you said if you are president, and this is why I always tell the likes of Showore, I think we should start from the grassroots, probably as a governor, or as a senator, or as a rep, then you build up. Because this man started right from even the 1993 days, during the Nadeko days. In fact, and I'm sure you're aware, because I saw your comment in one of this article by Professor Omo Omori, The Tales of June 12, The Struggle for June 12. He said, and I quote on page 53 of his book, he said, God forbid, that's David Mark's statement in Professor Omo Omori's book, God forbid allowing pronouncing MK Abiola as a president. A Yoruba man doing Kabiyesi in Aso Rock, I would shoot him in the head. It is in the book, but some people are still clamoring for such opposition people to come and take power. And as a Yoruba Moluabi man, I am sure you're aware of all these things because I've followed you for years. In fact, Sega, I told Sega to come and greet you. Dr. Sega is my elder brother. And then he said he was busy, even though he will have come in. But he said he will contact you. So What's your take on the development? The question goes on this security architecture, whereby we know the fall of the Sahel has affected African countries, especially West Africa, rather than blame President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on insecurity, what is trying to resolve it? And the second question is, would you be ready to join oppositions, the likes of Shegun Showumi, he's been here last week? I think a strong opposition, in fact, Aristotle said, and I quote, any democracy that does not have an opposition will turn to an authoritarian society. This is Aristotle. In fact, there are so many quotes on opposition. So I respect the rule of law and I respect opposition views, but we cannot have opposition scattered everywhere and expect to beat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the polls in 2027. It's impossible. Even juju will not work. Thank you very much. I yield the mic.
Thank you very much. Oga Prince, can you remember the two questions? I don't know if you can remember.
I remember the first question, and I remember the segmental analysis that followed from the.
Sorry, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, let me start. The first one was about how do you implement? How do you implement? It's not difficult. You see, none of the objectives we've set out has not been achieved by majority of countries now. I hope you know that something has happened in recent times. Number of poor countries has reduced, but poverty has increased more in the fewer poor countries left. So we are one of the basket cases in the world that got worse over time. So the things we want to do is just basically put efficient people in government. So the 50% of our problem in Nigeria today is that President Tinubu is just not competent. He's not a competent person. And anybody who has been a teacher before, a supervisor, there are three components of seriousness, of competence. One, the person must be mentally present. A distracted driver, even if he has driven Formula One before, if the driver is distracted, looking out, looking here, he will have a crash. So President Tinubu is a businessman. He's not a public servant. And it has shown he can't pay attention and execute the presidency. A governor of Lagos, you can do one bit here. Lagos is a small place. Lagos is almost the same size as Amak. Lagos is not as big as Abuja here. And Lagos has inherited infrastructure there. And Lagos has easy to tax things around if you are just a good tax collector. You don't have to run police. You don't have to run anything. You don't have to run defense. You don't have to read security estimates. So you're just there. You can do Owambe and enjoy yourself. So, and if you have one or two competent people around you, you give them the work, you can be politicking around. So now he's taking a job which requires 18 hours a day. And he cannot put 7 hours work. Yeah, it's not his fault. He just can't put 7 hours intense work. He can't do it. That's the reason. That's why you're asking question, implementation, and all of that. Second is subject matter expertise. The people you put in charge of every component of them must have subject matter expertise, not a philosophy of saying it's our turn. Let's bring our people there. And even among your people, assuming you even limit your people to the reasonable quota that you have, you're not bringing the best of your people. You are bringing people who are just rent seekers and tax collectors. So, who are doing alajo, who are doing a job with federal government money. So, the third thing is that it's not mobilizing the country. Because he came as a minority, he was declared winner as a minority. And he did not manage to carry majority along. So there is a legitimacy gap, legitimacy deficit. So, and it's not doing anything as a head of state to make that happen. In our time, we won't have any of those problems. We will pay attention to the work. We have the energy to do 18 hours work on a daily basis. It's not too far from the number of hours we already put to work. We are going to bring experts from every part of Nigeria. We are not a Parapo government. So we're bringing people from every part of Nigeria to come and serve. 3, we are going to carry everyone along, and everyone knows what the objective is, and everybody's working in that direction. Now, let me now come back to the analysis that this second speaker made. 1, lazy excuses abound. America wants to kill you. CIA wants to dissolve you. Why are you a government? That's the reason why people have a government. They know that people from outside will want to destabilize you. They want to steal your minerals. They want to. So if we have that kind of this kind of excuses, then our founding fathers about Macaulay and all that, they will not get independence. They will say, who can fight the British? Who can fight the superpower? They will not be. As at the time Abat Macaulay started his nationalism in 1922, 1923, Britain was the alpha and omega in the world. Nobody questioned Britain. And Abat Macaulay did it. And then subsequently, we got independence when other people joined. So now you're talking about Henry Kissinger. What is special about that? Israel and America are supposed to be close allies. Every time in America, they investigate American officials for spying for Israel. Israel investigates the Israeli official for spying for America. Lee Kuan Yew was on the side of the West as Prime Minister of Singapore. He has told story of how CIA came to offer $10 million to one of his officials to be spying against his government. Angela Merkel confronted Obama that America was spying against her. They were even bugging her office, even though Germany and America are in NATO. So if you are not capable of being government, you can't protect yourself. Get out of there. How are you telling these stories as you are babies? Even when I become president, I know that America will spy on me, France will spy on me, they want to invade me. That is why I have an army. You think the army is meant to be marching up and down? Why do you have Director of Military Intelligence? Why do you have National Intelligence Agency? It's not their job to find out what is going on all over the world? If a Chinese company comes to Nigeria, they say they are doing road construction in Zamfara State. They are doing road construction for Osun State. Is that not the job of our intelligence to find out who are these people? Who sent them? Where are they from? When TikTok got to America, did you not see all the hearing in the Congress questioning TikTok? Who set you up? Where are you here? What do you do with the picture? So, if that is why we say these people are not supposed to be in government. They don't know what governance is about. They think it's chieftaincy, Asiwaju of Nigeria. That's not that. If you form a competent government, they will try to spy on you. They will not. Was it not Nigeria that went to UK to go and kidnap Umar Odiko? It's not the same thing we did. That's what governments do all over the world. I served as United Nations and ECOWAS commissioner in Liberia. And I've had exposures in many governments all over the world. That's what governments do. I will be surprised myself if Nigeria is not trying to undermine some countries that potentially can cause problems for us. I remember when I used to consult for the government of Morocco. I passed through Libya and they were very, very unhappy with me. That what is happening? I was a lawyer in New York and I was doing projects all over the world in Thailand. Each time I returned to America, they will not just let me enter. They will call me, okay, welcome back. Where did you go? They will take me aside, ask me a question. Where did you go? What happened? This and that, this and that. Then where are you going next? What happened? When I get to the country, somebody in the American embassy will invite me, come and have lunch. What are you doing here? What is it about? That is how you govern your people. So this excuse that they want to divide you, they want to kill you, of course, you have minerals in your country. You have manpower that can rule the world. You produce Nobel Prize winner. You produce Chinua Achebe. You produce J.P. Clark. You produce all these brilliant people. You produce Okoja Iweala, who works for World Bank, who is in WTO. You are producing brilliant people in all fields of the world. What do you think they will do? They will just leave you like that? That is why you need a government that is competent, not an Owambe government. A government that knows that, okay, police is not to salute and carry a woman's bag. A police now is to help me protect my country. Soldier, army is not to promote my ethnic people to become general. It is to select the people with the best intelligence in signal, the best intelligence in intelligence, the best intelligence in ballistics, the best in artillery, the best in air surveillance, the best in everything, so that we can have a very strong army that even if you want to kill us, you cannot. Look at Pakistan. Recently, because Pakistan was the mediator between US and Iran, you saw if you haven't seen, I've read the security report of Israel trying to bomb and kill the Pakistani negotiators. And Pakistan knew immediately and told the US and warned Israel, if anything touches any of these people, we will deal with you. And that's why they didn't. So why are you talking? Like we are babies. We are a country. So we should be capable of defending ourselves. That's number one. Number two, President Tinubu himself, maybe he is also an ignoramus, according to what your analysis is, because he was saying Jonathan should resign if he cannot find Chibok girls. Why did Tinubu not remember Henry Kissinger at that time? And remember IMF, and remember CIA, and say, oh, it's not Jonathan's fault. It is CIA that stole the babies. Why were you doing Bring Back Our Girls? Why did you go and do it in front of CIA office in Langley, Virginia? Why are you doing it in front of Jonathan's office? Whoever is in charge at that time. And if you know that you cannot outwit CIA, you cannot fight the French, and I don't be president now. Go and be Asiwaju of Lagos and be dancing Senade music. But if you want to come and say you want to be president, commander-in-chief, you must be capable of being equal to the commander-in-chief of other countries. Because those people too are human beings. It is intelligence they are using. What happened to your own intelligence? So don't let us give any excuse at all. Thirdly, is it the CIA that said that we must not manage our defense money well, that we must steal the money? Is it the CIA that says that people want to join the NDA, you'll be choosing them according to ethnicity and religion and connection instead of choosing the best students? Is it the
Sorry,
CIA?
Mr. Prince, are you aware of Judith Sone, the CIA spy under President Yar'Adua? Remember what happened in 2009? Before in fact, it was after that spy swap operation that Yar'Adua died. When Condoleezza Rice, which was the then ambassador to Nigeria, visited Nigeria for the prisoner exchange. She was a CIA agent. I mean, the news was all over it's still on New York Times.
What I can tell you is that a political leader does not publicly discuss the intelligence estimates, intelligence operation of other countries. Because if we catch CIA here, if I am president and I catch CIA here, I won't tell you. It is CIA that will know that I've caught them and they will get out of there and settle. It is many years later, after you have solved the problem, that you can write your memoir and talk about it. So I will not be here commenting on CIA, commenting on KGB, commenting on anything, MI5, MI6. No. My job as commander-in-chief is to make sure that I know what is going on in my sub-region, what is going on globally, and to make enough friends and make investment. That's why all these monies that are
yes, but America forced Yar'Adua to release their spy agent. It was all over the news.
What I'm saying to you is that
Sorry.
what I'm saying to you is that countries have something we call committee. When your security operators go and do espionage overseas and they get caught, they have issues, you do not expose one another. It's a game of chess. Unless you want to break diplomatic relations and mess it up. But if you are cooperating together in oil, cooperating together in the mining, cooperating together in the technical exchange and all of that, you know that this person is my frenemy. There's no, when nations talk to each other and say it's a friendly nation, they don't mean it the way you and your friend, Jidofo, go and drink beer together. No. They know that we are competitors on the field. It's like a game of soccer. All of us belong to FIFA. But when we are playing matches, if you are careless, I will dribble you. If you dribble too much, I will clip your heel, you will fall down. It is a normal international interaction. For example, there are regional reasons for Russia to be interested in the Sahel because there are programs we have in our plan to carry gas from Nigeria through North Africa and supply Europe, and which will weaken one of the levers of Russia. Now, whether Russia is going to do anything about that and get the Sahelian countries all around us to cooperate with them, and suddenly we'll have to be struggling with getting consent from Moscow before we can do the pipeline. It's up to Russia to do that. I have to have a counterweight for that. America, they want to limit Chinese influence in the Gulf of Guinea, in the Sahel, and they want a government that will give them certain guarantees. So I have escorted governments to go and negotiate before. And I know that what the citizens expect that they will be negotiating at the table is not the priority of these people. They will negotiate those key national security components quietly and later say, oh, we've signed bilateral agreement and commission. That is not discussion for campaign ground. What I'm letting you know is that a commander-in-chief must be capable of being aware. And when you are elected as president, you don't spend 3 years without choosing ambassadors, thinking that ambassador is chieftaincy title. And you put the wives of your friends, the children of your friends, your people who make nuisance noise for you, you spread them all over the places where you are supposed to send people. If I'm sending an ambassador to Germany.
But Prince, hello, sir. The ambassadors were delayed because of the funding. In fact, Nigeria owes millions of dollars worldwide in our embassies. And this was not President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's fault. This was the fault of the previous administration. Hence, the delayed in ambassador. And we have permanent secretaries in our embassies. So there's no ambassador does not necessarily mean the embassy is not functioning.
Let me answer that.
Sorry, sir. Before you respond, sir, Governor, we would like to almost round up. So I think Oga Sir Adewole Adebayo, right? And after this question, we'll just take like 2 more questions and try to round up because I think we're already far spent.
Okay, let me deal with it. Thank you. Let me deal with the issue of ambassador. That's not correct. Once you come in, if you put together all the debt that they owe in the embassy from Switzerland to South Africa to whatever, you put together, they're not up to $3 billion. They're not even up to $2 billion. So that's not the issue. The issue is that the person we have as a commander-in-chief doesn't have the depth to understand that those positions need to be properly manned. And the fact that you have charging affairs and other people there doesn't work. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. You need to know that if you are going to have an ambassador in certain places, those people should be experts in those countries. If you have an ambassador to Germany who doesn't speak German very well, who has no background, doesn't know that's the country, who doesn't know how to make friends for you, you wasted that position. That's just as clear as that. So the same thing with Russia and other places. And we have enough Nigerians with sufficient friendship and connection all over the world that when we take them to those places, there will be a good face for Nigeria. There are Nigerians who school in Poland, who became very well respected there, and they retired at home. You made an ambassador to Poland. They have friends there already, but we don't have time for all those nitty-gritty now. But the conclusion of all
we have administrators in our embassies and our high commissions. We have PAs, we have SC, we have administrators.
I don't know. I cannot criticize you, even if what you are saying doesn't match what the issue is. Administrators have to open the doors, switch on the lights, have tea. That's not the level of diplomacy. I've visited most of Nigerian high commissions and embassies, and I was a consultant to Nigerian Foreign Affairs Committee in the Senate for 8 years. So, and I've advised them what to do. I know this subject. That is not what it's about. So,
Thank you.
so let us understand the conclusion is that enemies will always come. That is why we have the government. And the government has no excuse not to protect us. And don't talk about past governments, because it is the problem on the ground caused by past governments that you are coming to inherit. The same way President Tinubu doesn't have to build the villa. The villa was built by Babangida, and he's living inside it now. So sometimes you meet good things on the ground, you inherit it. Sometimes you meet bad things on the ground, you inherit it. If you cannot reject the good things, why are you rejecting the bad things?
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful rendition. We'll take two last questions because already we've spent a lot of time on this space. So I see Oga Boss has a question. I don't know if it's Oga Boss and 3 hours call. So I see 3 hours call and I see Oga Boss. So we'll take your questions together, then we'll try to round up the space. Please keep it very short and precise. Oga Boss, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you, the Surge, for giving us this opportunity. I'm quite fascinated and happy. Also to my leader, Prince Adewole Adebayo. He has been an amazing leader. I think I started following him since 2020. I find him very fascinating and very interesting. Sir, we are looking forward to a grateful day when you become the president of this country.
Amen.
So I have a lot of questions I want to ask. A lot, but because of time and because of Abe has taken most of our time, let me just go straight to just one question. So the question I want to ask you is about what is currently going on in South Africa. We are aware that the xenophobic attack in South Africa has taken so many lives. And moreover, the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, he's not really protecting the life of foreigners in their country. And you have people like March on March, Operation Dudula, giving deadlines, or they give deadlines to foreigners to leave their country. So if you become the president, or when you become the president, hello?
What's the question?
It was a question.
Hello?
Mr. Prince, I think he's
Hello?
not here. Mr. Prince, are you there? Mr. Prince.
Hello,
are
can
you
you hear
there?
me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Go ahead with your
So
question.
when you become the president, sir, how will you handle such problem that affects our country overall, taking lives, killed our citizens in South Africa, and destroyed businesses in South Africa? Then lastly, sir, still on issue of diaspora, sir, what do you see Nigeria in the role of combating human trafficking as modern day slavery around the world, especially issues that are happening in Libya currently, where so many Nigerians are used for slaves? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, let me address it in short order, because very...
Before you go ahead, I think we'll take one more question. So you answer everything together. 3 hour call. Are you there? 3 hours call. Are you there? Yeah, please try and ask a question very fast. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Baron. Thank you, sir, for coming and gracing us with your presence. I've had a nice time. I just have a question. Overall, I have observed that Nigeria has a problem of institutional inertia, and a lot of people have vested interest in the country. And I listened to you from the beginning.
We lost you. We lost you for a second there. 3 hour call. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Sorry, I got a call. So I don't know if you heard the last part. I said I've noticed that there is the issue of institutional inertia and a lot of vested interest with individuals in the ruling class. And I listened from the beginning. Your proposal depends heavily on enforcing transparency, recovery ministries, agencies, and state governments comply with your agenda. Given these same institutions have operated for decades, and the issue that I just talked about, that's inertia, what concrete legal and administrative steps would you take in the first 100 days in office, if elected, to make sure that they implement your reforms rather than resist or delay them? Because you are just one man with your cabinet. You need other members of the government to work, which sometimes most of them might not be members of your team, because we have from the federal level up to the local level where you have the councillors and all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let me start with the last question because the first one is simpler. The issue of institutional inertia and vested interest has been taken care of by the Constitution. That's why it says all the executive powers of the Federation are vested in the President. The most important and critical institutions in Nigeria are under the control of the President. All civilian ministries, all law enforcement agencies, all military formations, parastatals, but you are the one putting them there. So you will put people who share the vision. When you want to be against corruption, you put somebody who 10 times hates corruption more than you do. If you want to put people in accountability sector, like Accountant General of the Federation, like Bureau of Public Enterprises, like Bureau of Procurement, all of that, you put people who are 10 times more committed to accountability than you. So that is how you do it. The rest of the state, you can see that the priority of the president is what the states follow. When the president came, President Tinubu came, majority of more than about half of the governors were not from his party. Now he has swayed them to his party. What that tells you that it's a president with partisan political priority. If he was a president with developmental priority, governors will also follow and become developmental. So the presidency is a big position, it's an important position, and it's a position that is meant for somebody who has a sense of vision and will lead the rest of the country. A leader who says that people don't follow him is a poor leader, because you have to communicate your vision. All these people in Nigeria, it's not as Nigeria is full of people who don't want the progress of the country. No, I'm not the only patriot in Nigeria. It is to select patriots and put them in key positions, and then they will provide leadership. Nigerians too want good things. The problem with Nigeria is that they live by example, not by what you say. If the president is supervising over a heist, grand larceny, and looting, and is talking grammar, they know they will follow. So if you lead by example, if you have a president that's anti-corruption, anti-waste, anti-discrimination, every other person will follow. That's what I can tell you. So it's his leadership, and we will show it to the country. So then regarding South Africa, there are 3 things we need to remember. And if we remember them, we will solve the problem. Number 1, are we treating our people better inside Nigeria than South Africans are treating them? If you are in Nigeria, and there are parts of Nigeria where other Nigerians cannot stay with peace of mind, people will say, get out of here, go out of here. Discrimination inside Nigeria. If our own police can beat you blue-black inside Nigeria, then it is very difficult for you to start complaining about how you were treated badly outside. So the first thing I will do as president is to make sure that the value of Nigerian citizenship rises. That Nigerian is well respected in his country, is treated fairly in different parts of the country, and that Nigerian government institutions respect Nigerian citizens. So when they see how you treat your citizens at home, people outside will be careful how they treat your citizens. You will see that South Africans may have a point that foreigners are taking their jobs, foreigners are taking their opportunities, but they are not asking Americans to leave, even though Americans have businesses there. They are not asking Chinese to leave, even though Chinese control a lot of businesses in South Africa. Even though Europeans own most of their companies and most of their beachfront properties, hotels, they're not asking white people to leave. So what does it tell you? That Nigerians have become an easy target? Many African countries have become an easy target because at home, they don't have value. So when you have value at home, you have value abroad. That's number one. Number two is that Nigerians need to know that there's no right to live in other people's country. The only country where you have the right to live as of right is Nigeria. Therefore, we will try as much as possible that we make our economy so strong, our system so fair, our society so endearing, that it's only with reluctance that Nigeria will leave the country. I'm authorized to live in about 12 countries now with papers to live there. I'm in Nigeria. Why? Because it is good for me to be in Nigeria. So going abroad, Lebanese, Chinese, French, Italians, other people go overseas, but they don't go and do Thanksgiving before they go abroad. Oh, I've japa, I've escaped problem. They go there to go and do business and go back to their country. They can spend 10 years, 15 years. The people in that country know that they are going to go back. So there are many lawyers that I knew in New York who have gone back to that Canada, different country where they came from, that were practicing law together in the same firm. There are people in different corporations in America that are service, that are from India, Pakistan, other places. They are going back home. So let us have that value that Nigerians who go abroad are the top quality Nigerians who are not running away from poverty. They're not going there to take menial jobs. That they go abroad to try to be ambassadors of our home brands. If our banks open branches in South Africa, Nigerians can go and open those branches. If our companies are set up overseas, Nigerians can go and lead it. The way Chinese are coming here to represent their construction company and all of that. Because we need to realize that any population that's under pressure, they will react. And you could see that in our time, we said Ghana must go. Ghana must go. And Shagari didn't want Ghana to go, but Nigerians were agitating. And to say that Ramaphosa is not protecting foreigners, he wasn't elected to protect foreigners. He was elected to protect South Africans. So even though he's trying to make diplomatic face, he won't go against his people, because the next election they will vote his party out or even vote him out. So the second thing is to make sure that our people who go abroad sparingly, and they go for quality reasons. And the only way they can do that is Nigeria government should stop chasing them out with poverty, with insecurity, with blackout, with unemployment, with all these other problems that are chasing our people willy-nilly out of the country. The third component is that we must be able to enforce minimum standards of treatment for our people abroad. And in diplomacy, reciprocity is allowed. So Nigeria must communicate very well to the leadership of South Africa and other countries that, look, if you want our people to leave, contact our embassy. Our embassy themselves will go and pick them, if those who are not supposed to be in your country. Because let me tell you, as Nigeria president, if you go abroad to any country and you overstay your paper, I will authorize consular officers to liaise with the embassy or with the government of that country to bring you back home before you get killed or embarrass yourself. However, If you are a Nigerian with paper, regular immigration paper in that country, I will make sure that if you are badly treated, we will reciprocate here. There's no country that is too big to be banned by anybody. After all, during COVID, even America was banned by South Africa, banned by Ghana, banned by everybody. So if you have confidence in your own country, you become valuable, they'll be looking for you. There was a time in England that they were looking for Nigerians to come and become tenants, to come and rent their houses in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, when our currency was strong. KLM used to come to the university to have a package for Nigerian students to come and travel to Amsterdam. They will give them discount. So the proportion of respect you have overseas is commensurate with the respect you have at home. So let us build our country, build our economy, and gain respect at home and value our citizenship so that they know that in Nigeria, even a policeman cannot slap a citizen. So if that citizen goes abroad, they will tell them in their country, they don't slap them up. You can't do that. So that's how it is. At the same time, for the current crisis at hand, we'll communicate effectively with South African government that we will reciprocate on behalf of our people if you don't treat them fairly. And that's not too much to say.
Very much, sir. That was a brilliant response. I believe that's all the questions we have for you, sir.
Yeah.
And Solomon, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we can wrap up there. Look, on behalf of the search, I want to thank you, for always answering our call, Prince Adewole. And I think, as I said at the beginning, you're one of the most articulate candidates that we've had the pleasure to host. What I would ask is, if there's anybody here, and I'm sure there are some. I know that there's some people like Ruthie, who are probably looking for a new party to sort of throw their weight behind. Perhaps people like Barron. I know Abbey Governor is always kind of on the lookout for where he can sort of hang his hat. So how can they support your efforts, and what can they do? For anyone that's looking to support, what can they do in terms of offering support to your sort of campaign?
Thank you. What can be done is, number one, before a person supports us, we try to make the person at least become a better citizen by understanding the nature of our republic, understanding our constitution, understanding chapter 2 of the constitution. Because when you understand how we want our government to be, you will understand why we are the Social Democratic Party. You understand where things like it is the turn of our people. Let my townsman get one more term. All those things don't count for us. So you will support us based on the policies and what we want to do. So the first thing is for the person to study the manifesto of the SDP. It's on the SDP website. And if there's a group place where I can drop it here, I will dump it with the search. They can share it. We want support, but we don't want blind support. We want support that is rational, that is based on an understanding of what the party stands for, and that is not based on sentiment. It's the turn of my people, or my religion, or my ethnicity, and things that have no impact on human development and on solution. Then once you understand that, you join the SDP, then we want you to also talk to your neighbors so that we can have a republic that is organizing political parties based on ideas, based on recruiting top quality leadership, not having inter-ethnic argumentation, inter-religious argumentation, inter-regional argumentation, and other things. I don't want a fans club. I don't want people to worship me, to insult anybody on my behalf. I want people to share my ideas with me, to disagree with me in some areas, and say, it's a better way to do this idea, because it's ideas that rule the world now. So that is basically what people can do. And if they can spend some of their resources to organize programs in their neighborhood, to reach people, to share our content, and so that Nigerians can actually embrace a politics that has worked for many countries. Politics based on ideas, based on well-formulated policies, and that can bring everybody together, that no matter what your ethnicity is, what your religion is, what your age is, you can say this is a pathway to getting good water supply. This is, if the plan is followed, it will work. This is a pathway for dealing with security. This is a pathway for creating sustainable employment. This is a pathway for accountability, having a decent society, rule of law. All these things don't have ethnic component to them. There's no one group or one tribe that is better than the other in doing these things. Anybody who follows all these things that are contained in chapter 2 of the Constitution, the person will do well, no matter which part of the country they come from, whichever religion they follow. If you follow this methodology, it's like flying a plane. If you go to Boeing and they teach you how to fly a Boeing aircraft, whether you are Yoruba, you are Hausa, you are Igbo, you are no religion, if you fly there according to the flight protocol, you will land and you will solve the problem. That's how modern governance is. This era of internet saying civil war, my people are greater than your people, the past, this and that, is the turn of my people, turn of my religion. They don't work in modern governance. And that's what I want us to understand. And that's how we will reform the country. So if you can support us in this kind of changing mindset and having citizens who care for the country, who behave like shareholders in the Nigerian state, I think we will do very well.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Pastor. So can I just ask people in the audience, please follow Prince Adebayo on the different social platforms. Unfortunately, his official account is not here with us today, but we will do our best to provide that. And anything he shares with us, we'll certainly do our best.
People, sorry to cut in, people can go to Adequate for Nigeria. I think that's the official account on TikTok.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. There you go. There you go. So Prince Adebayo, until next time, we wish you very well. We will follow your campaign closely. And if there's anything that we can do from our side in terms of offering the platform, we will always be here, to do that. So once again, on behalf of the Surge, we thank you. We thank the audience. Please join us next week. We'll be hosting, I believe we'll be hosting Osita Chidoka. So please kindly follow the Surge and follow the moderators. And we look forward to having you all next week. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you, Prince. God bless.
Thank you very much. Thank you.